In this video, I want to have a look at some more advanced techniques using the slide. In previous videos, I've had a look at the basics of using a slide with the guitar, and I've also had a look at how best to set your guitar up to play with a slide. In this video, I want to have a look at some slightly more advanced techniques with a slide. Namely, what I want to have a look at is which finger on your hand is the best for using a slide when playing guitar. And from that, what I want to have a look at is a technique called string muting, which is commonly used when playing with a slide. And also what I want to have a look at is using a slide when also fretting notes in a piece of music. And that all feeds back to which is the best finger to use the slide on. So let's get going. When you see somebody playing with a slide like this, they nearly always play with it on their ring finger like this or their pinky like this. And there's good reason for them doing that, and that's what I want to show you in this video. Now, intuitively, you're going to want to put it on one of your more dominant fingers, say your index finger like this. But that doesn't really work. And to demonstrate that, what I'll do is I'll play a wee bit with it on the index finger to show you how it sounds, and then I'll move it to one of the other fingers, my pinky. So that's how it sounds with the index finger. Now I'll move it to my pinky. Like so, and it sounds totally different. The most noticeable thing you'll hear there is that when it was on the index finger, you got a huge amount of clanging on the strings, but that wasn't the same when you put it on your pinky. And that's because I employed a technique called string muting, which you do when playing the slide. Now, this technique, it isn't obvious that it's getting done when the slide's getting played, but it really is one of the most fundamental techniques when playing the slide to reduce this ringing on the strings. So that's what I want to have a look at now. Okay, so what is string muting? Well, what you've got to understand is that when you're playing the guitar, you have these hard metal strings. And when you're putting the slide on it, you've got this hard, well in this case glass or sometimes metal slide. And when these two come together, it can make a ringing noise. I mean, if you've got the strings already vibrating like this, and you put the slide on, you get an impact sound, this clanging sound when they impact. And when you're playing many strings at once or playing them in sequence, this clanging can start to ring out. So what we do when playing the slide is put a form of muting on the strings. And this is done with the fingers here, the index or middle, usually the index. And what you're doing is, while you're addressing the strings with a slide like this, what you're trying to do with the fingers behind it is rest them on the strings like this. And basically what you're doing is using that to mute or deaden the strings to stop this ringing sound. So like I said, if you just put the slide straight down like this, you get that. If you put it down and bring these fingers on the strings behind it, it stops that ringing sound and gives cleaner notes. Now, I find that this technique is easiest done with the slide on the pinky like this, and that frees up primarily my index finger, but you can also get some of your middle finger as well resting on the strings. Like so. And it makes a huge difference to how clean the notes are ringing out. Now, when you're muting the strings, you're not fretting them with these fingers. You're just resting them gently on them to take away this ringing, this external ringing that comes from the strings. Now, it can be quite an awkward technique at first. I mean, I don't have the longest fingers ever, And to get the slide at the right angle and bring these fingers down, you can feel like you're twisting your hand around quite a bit. Ideally, you would want to get all the strings covered with these fingers. But, like I said, it can often feel a bit sort of awkward, this technique. So I think, you know, realistically, do the best you can. Do the best you can to get as much of the fleshy part of these fingers resting on the strings behind the slide like this, to try and get as much muting as possible. Now, like I said, it can be done with this finger as well. And if you feel more comfortable with the slide on this finger and you're able to get this string muting done with those fingers, then that's great. Personally, I find it slightly awkward. I find me wanting to arch these fingers a bit more, so I find it easier if I put the pinky on the slide on the pinky like this. Now, like I said, you don't have to be perfect with this technique. Just do what you can. If you listen to a lot of old blues music using the slide, you will hear string ringing. It's going to happen. I mean, if you want to be a perfectionist, yes, you can try and get every note clean. But personally, I think, you know, the occasional bit of ringing and that on the strings and a wee bit of clanging doesn't do any harm. I think the problems just really occur if every note is getting this clanging sound and you're just getting this cacophony, just, you know, glass or metal hitting these ringing metal strings. So like I said, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the fleshy parts of the index and middle finger down, while also getting the slide sitting at just the right height to articulate the notes. So give this technique a try, you know, especially if you're finding that the sound coming out of your slide guitar isn't what you're wanting, it's too ringy. Give it a try and practice it, because it is quite tricky to get your hand to twist to the right angle. But once you do it, you'll notice a big difference in the notes that are coming out of your guitar. Now, another reason it's preferable to use the slide on the pinky or maybe the ring finger is that it frees up the other fingers for fretting notes on the guitar. Now, this may be a bit more uncommon. You know, usually, you know, if you're playing a piece of slide music, most of the notes in it will be played using the slide. So you'll have no need to bring these fingers in for fretting notes. But in some pieces of music, you will do it. I mean, the slide gives a distinctive sound when you're making the notes. And it's a much different sound to when you're actually fretting them with your fingers, you know. Like so. So there may be times when you want to actually just fret the notes normally with your fingers. Maybe you're wanting to play two strings at once that aren't in line, you know, like so, you know, which you just can't do with a slide. So if you put the slide on one of the fingers over here, like your pinky, it frees up these fingers for fretting notes. So that opens up more options when you're playing the music. Now again, I recommend on the pinky, you know, if you've got it on the pinky, it basically frees up these two fingers for playing notes. And it allows you to get the slide right out of the way of the strings like this. Playing with this string and the slide can tend to get a bit too close to the strings. And likewise, if you put it on your ring finger and you're trying to fret notes with the middle finger, you can catch the strings with a slide, but if you put it on the ring finger, it still frees up your index finger for playing notes like that. So that's another reason why putting it on these fingers is better, is it because it frees up these index and middle or index finger for playing and fretting other notes, which opens up a whole load of new possibilities when playing the guitar with a slide. Okay, another reason why it's preferable to have the slide on the pinky or ring finger is that it allows you to get up to some of the higher registers on the guitar. Now I've got an acoustic here with a relatively standard body shape. You know, you do get some with cutaways, which makes it easier. But a lot of the time, if you're playing acoustic, you're going to have this standard body shape. And when you're playing with it on the pinky, it allows you to get the slide right across up here, and your hands just touching the body here. Like so. So that's the 12th fret there. So it allows you to get right up the 12th fret. If you put it on your index finger like this, all of a sudden you're only getting up to the 9th fret and your hand's hitting the body of the guitar. So to reach the higher registers, you're pushing over like this, which is just totally awkward. Again, on the middle finger, same problem. You know, your hand's hitting the body of the guitar. So that's another reason why it's preferable to play, especially with the pinky, is it allows you to access those higher registers. It allows you to get the slide right across that 12th fret on this guitar and still able to get some of this string muting in with the other fingers. Okay, that's some of the more advanced techniques used when playing the slide. And in terms of which finger it's best to use the slide on, I think what I've really said is that your preferable finger is the pinky. Like I said, intuitively you want to use it on, say, your index finger because you feel like you've got more control over it, you feel like you've got more control over the pressure, but putting it on your index finger is really no use. You can't employ string muting with the other strings because it has to be behind the slide, so you can't do it at this side. It doesn't really free up any other fingers. I mean, you could use them for fretting, but it's just very awkward. And it doesn't allow you to get up to the higher registers of the guitar. And as you move across each finger, this problem alleviates until you get to the pinky. So when you're on the pinky, you know, you can get your fingers down to provide some string muting. It frees up these two fingers to play other notes on the guitar, to fret notes if you need to, and it also allows you to get up to the higher registers on the guitar. The only downside with putting it on the pinky is it actually feels quite awkward at the start. It feels really awkward to move the slide, it feels really awkward to get the pressure, but that's something that'll just have to come with practice. So ultimately, you know, if you want to get good with a slide and you want to get the most out of a slide, I would recommend you put it on your pinky. Now, like I said, you see a lot of people putting it on their ring finger like this, and this is also good. You know, it allows you to get some string muting in, allows you to get up to some of the higher registers, not quite as high, and it also frees up, you know, at least your index finger for playing single notes like that. But ultimately, you know, like I said, if you want to get the most versatility out of the slide and have the most options when playing the slide and get the best sound, I would recommend you put the slide on your pinky.